Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Big Juan Robles here with Top Deck Gaming or Stan Nelson, whatever floats your boat. And today we're going to be doing a deck profile on a BR Flip variant. I'm going to give you a little insight on the deck. I play out of Fresno, California, and recently I went to a local tournament in Sacramento, and I played a mirror match against another BR Flip deck. And after the match, kind of seeing how my opponent played the deck, it gave me some ideas to throw into my own personal deck. So right off the bat, I just want to be able to say that I cannot take credit for everything that's in the deck. I did splice a lot of ideas from my opponent, so I want to give him a shout out. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name, but once I get that for you, I will let you know. But without further ado, let's get right into it with our turn 0 ninjas. So starting off, we have 2 Neji Hyugas, Destiny. Pretty basic card. When he comes into play, your opponent wins from Battle Ward. So because it's a BR deck, it's okay. You know, we don't mind giving out Battle Wards for the simple fact that we are trying to get them back to our own hand. Additionally, during the mission phase, I can turn 1 face down Battle Ward, face up. Neji's a good turn 0 drop just because he's a 3-0 healthy and a 3-0 injured, so he keeps the power, which is always good. Next turn 0 drop, Hinata Hyuga. Strong Spirit. Hinata just says when she's deployed that I can search my deck for 1 Hinata Ninja card and put it to my hand. So she helps to mill out the deck and get you what you need later down the road. We have 2 Shihos. Shiho, in my opinion, is just a good card overall. Attacker mission. Her effect costs nothing. You draw 1 card from top of your deck, and then you move 1 card to the top of your deck. So she helps you kind of search out for what you need. She has mental power 2, so she helps with that aspect. 0-2-0-0, good card. Next, 2 turn 0 Tintins, Endless Arsenal. This card to me is just really good for any Earth deck. It's a staple. It says at the start of your turn you can discard a card. In that case, you draw 1 card. But her secondary effect is if the card you discarded was not an Earth card, move up to 3 cards from your deck to your discard pile. Luckily for Earth players, we know that our deck's basically completely Earth, besides some splash cards, so she's always good. 3-0-1-0, so she's pretty strong. Next turn 0 drop, we have ADP Sakura. One of my favorite cards in the deck, honestly, just because during the exchange of Jutsu, which means she doesn't even have to be sent out to battle, you can exchange all the cards in your hand with the top of your deck. So this helps you search for things that you might need, get rid of things that you don't need at the moment. She just kind of helps bolster that aspect, and she combos very well with cards like Hanabi, which we'll get into later. But yeah, turn 0, good card. Last turn 0s, 2 Choji Akamichis, way big. I like his effect just for the simple fact that I can turn one of my Battle Wards face up. He combos well with the whole BR aspect, then we know what's in my Battle Wards area. And he also gets an additional effect of he can move 1 coin from any ninja onto him. So if your opponent has like a strong like growth deck or something like that, you can snipe growth coins off of them, put them onto him, or move coins from one ninja to the other, like if they have poison coins when you're playing against puppets. So good card. 3-0-0-0, strong. So that's my turn 0s right there. We're going to go into turn 1s next. Turn 1, to me, it's like the MVP of the deck right here. Hanabi Hyuga, Sisterhood. This card's fantastic. If you don't know what she does, it says when your opponent wins or gets any Battle Wards, which is the same thing now, you can look at them, turn them face up as they're getting them. And if any of them are Earth Jutsus, those go to your hand instead. So it really helps bolster your hand depending on if you hit the Jutsu or not. She's a 1-2-0-0 Byakugan, good stuff right there. As far as I'm concerned, most people are concerned about this card when you put on the field, and that's going to be something they're trying to get rid of, so it helps make room for setting up later in the game. Last turns 1s is Yoshino Nara as a mother. Yoshina's awesome. She gets +3 mental power when she's in the same team. When you have another Nara on the field. Additionally, when she's opposed in the same team with Nara, you perform mental power, so it forces the mental. It's a good early game deterrent for like rush decks and stuff like that, giving you an upper hand when you have your Shikamaru on the field. 0-2-0-1, good card. Next in is the turn 2s. I play 1 Ino Yamanaka, playful. Her effect's pretty good. She says each player cannot put into play more than one ninja per turn, so it helps with people who like to, growth in a lot, people who are squatting in a lot or platooning. She stops that. It gives you some time to really help set yourself up for later down the road when, the jutsu start coming out. Also, valid, the effect of your opponent's hit ninjas are negated. So, those strong ninjas that have those, hard effects that could either, snipe your ninjas or snipe jutsus, stuff like that, she helps in that aspect. Next up is 1 turn 2 Tintin, Weapon Cache. She's awesome. During your mission phase, select one of your opponent's face-up Earth Battle Wards. In that case, you move the selected card to your hand and your opponent wins from Battle Ward. So with her, she lets you bring things back to your hand from your Battle Wards, which obviously is always good. And if you combo her with something like Hanabi, giving them one Battle Ward, if that's an Earth Jutsu, that's also going to your hand. So, it's a luck card, definitely, but it does help you set up later in the game. Turn 2 Shikamaru Nara's Chivalrous. His effect's awesome. During your mission phase, you can turn one of your Power Wards face down. In that case, select one of your opponent's ninjas and negate its effect text during the turn. This is really good because by that time, most players on turn 2, they're putting things in like KNS to let you draw. You hit the effect, you chain them when putting into play, hit the effect, turn your Battle Ward face down, and then boom, right there. They don't get to draw, all that good stuff. If they have a ninja on the field that's really hurting you at the time, when they're so usually those effects, they are activating on their turns. You can hit them, make sure they don't get those off. And again, with Yoshino, it just gives you that mental power. Mental power 4 like always. He has growth, good card, and 3 support, which is always helpful. Right into turn 3s. Hanada Hyuga. I only play one Hanada, and I chose to play the reserved character Hanada just because I love the discard aspect. If you can, in some slight way, control the opponent's hand, it helps long game, especially when you can hit those like jutsus out of their hands or their next drop, so they miss their curve. Very helpful. A lot of people play the Hanada that has tracking that targets a ninja, and they cannot become the user jutsu cards, which is good Hanada, don't get me wrong. I just like this aspect, and I only play one just because I can search her out for the other Hanada. Definitely playtesting it still. I might, switch out. I'm not really sure, but we'll see how that goes. But 3-3, 3-2, Byakugan, has the mental power, has Byakugan. You gotta love that. Other turn 3s, the last 2 are Zetsu's Mysterious Nature. This card is awesome, again, because it's a BR flip deck. He can be played out of your Battle Wards area if he's face up. So it, snipes one out of the BRs, dropping them down by 1, giving you a better advantage if they have BRs up on you. He's a 3-3, it's good stats right there. And also he does have tracking, and that says your opponent's track ninja's effects are negated. Controlling a ninja is always beneficial to you, especially when they have those powerful effects that you can just get rid of off the board. Good card. Into my turn 4s, I run one of the turn 4 Neji Hyuga, Genius of the Hyuga clan. He does have a hand cost, but that 6-3, you can't really argue with that, especially on turn 4, and considering he has Jonin and Growth, so you can just growth him over your turn 0 Neji you played earlier. And then his effect says, during the exchange of Jutsu, which is either players, whether I'm attacking you or they are, you can injure one opposing ninja unless your opponent discards one card. So again, it injures ninjas. If your opponent wants to keep them healthy, it's forcing that card out of their hand. Again, it's giving that aspect of control, which I love. So, and also your opponent's hand size is reduced by 1. That effect is valid, and so it definitely combos well with other like hand control decks. But for this purpose of this deck, it's just he's another Hyuga in my hand. The Byakugan aspect, and the fact that he can't control your opponent's hand, if they choose otherwise. So, I like that card a lot. Last turn 4s, we have 2 Yamatos, Seeds of Strength. I like this Yamato a lot. He has Ambush, which is helpful when you're dropping him early for like charging for mission cards or what have you. And he says when he's deployed, you can play a face-up mission card from your opponent's Battle Ward area, ignoring its hand cost. So that's always helpful, especially when you're hurting on like a draw card or something that can snipe missions or clients off the field. And also during mission phase, you can turn one Battle Ward face up or face down, so to your disclosure. Additionally, he has mental power 2. He's a decent power. He's a 5, so he can be the head for most battling teams, depending on what you have on the field. I really wish I could play the banned Yamato, the one that, you know, all the effects are negated for anybody who has a lower interest cost than he does. Unfortunately, for the ban list that I go off of from the Naruto CCG forum on Facebook, that's the one that we use, and so you know, just trying to find ways around that. But this Yamato is still a strong candidate, and you know, he's a turn 4, so he comes in pretty early in my opinion. So good card. Right into the turn 5s. Only one is Datara. Super flat art style. This card is another MVP of the deck. He has ambush, he has mastery, so he's getting jutsus back to his hand, and his effect says, when this ninja becomes user for jutsu, you can place 1 growth coin on this ninja. So, you know, gets that +1/+1. Also, during your mission phase, you can remove a growth coin from this ninja, and in that case, give 1 damage to 1 ninja. So it's a good effect. You know, it instead of injuring, you know, gives that damage. So if they have somebody who's already hurt, you can snipe them off the field during your mission phase. It gets those growth coins. Again, mastery, like, you can't really argue with that. So I was going to play 2, unfortunately I only have 1, so I'm probably going to have to pick up another one of these just to see how it runs in the deck. But yeah, Datara, great card. Next up, my turn 6s. I run 2 turn 6s. Now, it was either going to be 2 of the 3rd Tsuchikages or 2 of the 1st Hokages. I decided to go with 1 of each just because, I mean, they're turn 6s, late game stuff. You never really know if you're even going to get to that part of the game where you're going to really need them, because usually by turn 3 most games are decided by who's going to be the winner. Unfortunately for me, for this deck, there's a lot of stall just because I keep getting backwards back to my hand. But first Hokage Supremacy, this is the reprinted one. He says, when Ninja is deployed, you can move 2 of your opponent's battle wards to your hand and then shuffle any number of cards from your discard pile into your deck. So it hits the battle wards, it gives you nets you 2 cards to your hand, which is always good. Strong hand. When you have full hands, it makes people more hesitant on attacking, and you're just worrying like if you're going to have something to use against them or not. Additionally, the whole discard pile back to your deck effect, that's awesome, especially when you're playing against decks that mill you out. It gives that back to you, something that it should always be considered an Earth deck. Definitely a staple for all Earth decks in my opinion. Good card. Last is the 3rd Tsuchikage. I love this guy for the simple fact that he is 3 colors. He's Earth, Fire, and Wind, so he can be played in a multitude of decks, and especially seeing how Earth and Wind are some of the stronger deck types that are out there. Something you can just splash in, it's awesome. His effect says, when 1 or more ninjas you control that share a symbol with this ninja become the target of a jutsu, you can pay 1 anything, in that case negate and move that jutsu to the top of its owner's deck, and that user becomes a standby ninja. So he definitely blankets your field, especially for damaging jutsus that Fire uses a lot, like Hirodora, things like that. Just keeps your ninjas healthy, and then sniping that for the 1 cost is better than most negation jutsus that usually cost somewhere around 2 chakra. So yeah, great card. And again, he doesn't need to be sent to battle. He can just be chilling on the field, and then you pop his effect to pop those jutsus. Awesome card. He's a 5 support also, and 4 support injured, so he definitely gives that power boost to your teams. Good card right there. So that's the ninjas. I believe it's 28 ninjas in the deck. I know most people play about 30. Unfortunately, I just really couldn't think of much else to throw into the deck at the time, but I like my ninja setup. I feel like I hardly ever miss my curve, which is really nice. But those are the ninjas, and we'll get right into the mission cards here. So for the missions, turn 0, staple for BR, absolutely. Team Osma, it's a 0 entrance cost, 1 hand cost, permanent 3, which is fantastic, and it says when your opponent wins or gets any battle words, you get to draw a card. So considering the fact that the deck kind of just gives away battle words like candy, being able to draw off of that just makes the deck so much better, especially if you can exchange out with like ADP Sakura, and then if you have Hanabi on the field, you're just basically putting your jutsus right on top, and then you're throwing them into your battle words, and so you're going to net those battle words back to your hand because they're jutsus for Hanabi's effect, and you're going to get to draw a card. So it bolsters your hand, it makes it beefy, and it gives you your curve basically. Awesome card. Right into turn 1s. Here we go. Student and Sensei. If you don't know what this card does, it's fantastic. Your opponent gets 1 battle ward. In that case, you get to draw 2 cards. It doesn't get much better than that. Early game, it's really okay to give off Battle Awards, especially for the type of deck build that I'm running. And then just knitting those 2 cards to your hand, it's fantastic. And say you don't have a turn 1, most of the time you're probably going to turn draw into it, or it's going to give you that jutsu that you need late game. So you can this card is just beneficial early, mid to late game. You know, it's a turn 1 hand cost. You know, pretty much overall great card. Right into turn 2s here. The next target. I played this at the Sacramento tournament that I was at, and most people didn't know what it did because, quite frankly, you really don't see this card played. And if you do, it's usually sideboarded. But the next target's a permanent mission card, and during the mission phase, I can move this in-play mission to my chakra area. In that case, I can negate and discard one mission card being played, or discard one in-play client. I think that's huge because on turn 2, you know, most of these draw missions are coming out on turn 2. This Shikamaru's Decision, I believe, is a turn 3, and so that's one of those cards that's played heavily. Draw cards, you can just pop them and be like, you know what, don't want you to have those cards to your hand, and it discards it, which is fantastic. So they're not even getting that chakra. And you know, also in-play clients. Not many decks run clients nowadays, but it's just another way to kind of help yourself out, keep your teams healthy. Giving you that secondary chance, and it's a water earth, so it can be splashed in earth water as well. It's a good card overall. I might take it out just because there's always better turn 2 missions you can definitely play. Unfortunately, you know, the downside is that the mission card has to be being played and cannot affect mission cards already in the field. But still, a good card, I think. Definitely worth 2 in the deck. So there's that. And then also one of the, you either hate it or you love it, but Churning in the Moonlight is nutty. It's an amazing card. I love the artwork. You know, this card came out and I thought to myself, who would let this card be created? But, you know, then again, we have things like Stay 2 Sasuke. So, but this effect says discard 1 card at random in your opponent's hand. And then after that, if you have the same or less cards in their hand, then you can draw 2 cards. So most of the time you're going to draw those 2 cards, and it just hurts your opponent so much because it drops them 1 card from their hand. It's giving you more. And then additionally, when it's in your chakra area, your Hinata Higa gets +2 mental power. So it will combo well with things like Yoshino and Shikamaru if I ever want to, like, just, you know, use mental power battles, or even if you're playing a mental power deck and playing against a mental power deck, it gives you a kind of like a little extra boost to kind of help ward that off. It is limited to 1 based off of the ban list that my group plays on, so breaks my heart, but it's still worth the 1 copy in the deck, absolutely. Up next is turn 3s. We have 2 Kakuzu's abilities. What more can you say about this card? It's fantastic. The effect is you turn one of your opponent's battle words face up, then you apply the following effects according to the card type found among your opponent's face up battle words. So even if you flip a card face up and you hit Ninja, it still goes off of the effects of the other face up cards in your chakra area, in your battle words area. So if it's a Ninja, you can discard 2 your opponent's chakras, which is always good. Mission, draw 2 cards and charge 1 card. And then other, your opponent randomly discards 1 card. So again, it gives you that control aspect, getting rid of chakra, potentially getting rid of card from your opponent's hand. So it hits, I mean, most of the time you can hit all 3 effects, depending on what's in there, especially if you have things like Tintin that's constantly bringing things back and your opponent getting battle awards. Great card. I would run 3, but I just feel that's excessive. But yeah, Kakuzu's abilities, fantastic. And then last is 2 Shelter from the Shifting Sands. This card's pretty decent. It says select 2 of your opponent's battle words. If any of them are face up, you can move 1 of them to your hand and then discard the rest. So, you know, you're getting cards back, you're discarding cards, you're hurting your opponent's battle awards. Especially if they have a lot on you, it kind of helps restart the game in an aspect. And then additionally, when this card's in your chakra area, your opponent's hand size is reduced by 1. So it still gives you that ability to kind of have that control aspect, depending on how they play. But that's the missions right there. And then we'll go right into the jutsus here. So for my jutsus, I play 2 deflections. Excuse me, get this out of the way here. I play 2 deflections. It costs 1 earth. The effect is name a symbol. The user's team cannot be affected by the effects of your cards with the name symbol. So it's basically just a blanket. You know, your opponent plays a really strong jutsu that will probably wreck your team. Deflection, you're only paying 1. You're not really losing too much on that. And, you know, there's no requirements to really use it. Anybody can use it in the deck. All my ninjas are Earth besides Sakura. And, you know, by that point, you know, she's off to the side or she's either dead. So I'm going to protect my team always. Deflection's a great way to do that. Next up, 2 concentrations. Concentration's fantastic. It's a 1 Earth or 2 anything, so you could use it in any other deck if you really wanted to, but in Earth it's fantastic. Target each of your ninjas with the same symbol as the user, and since they're all Earth, I mean, it doesn't really matter. The target cannot be affected by the effects your opponent chooses cards during the turn. So this card's awesome because if you are going up against an opponent that has Sasuke and he feels like Chidori streaming you, you know, killing all of your ninjas, boom, concentration. So it's kind of like a slap in the face. You know, everybody is protected. It doesn't have to be everybody in your team. It's all of your ninjas with the like symbol. And he blows up his entire team by himself, and you're still healthy. And then obviously it's good against, you know, fire jutsus that do a lot of damage, things like that. Concentration, fantastic card. I definitely enjoy cards that have that pseudo-negation ability, because there are jutsus in the game now that say they just can't be negated. So when you have a way around that, it definitely helps in the long run. So next up, we have 2 H diagrams, 64 palms. This card is nutty. I love this card. It's definitely luck-based, but if you can pull it off, it destroys teams. It's 2 cost, 2 Earth. Requirements Byakugan. And because Earth decks, typically most of their curve is nothing but Byakugan ninjas, everybody in my deck can use it as Byakugan. So Neji, Hinata, Hanabi, all those guys. And it says target every ninja opposing the user, effect, flip a coin until you flip a tail. So just keep flipping, and then distribute X damage among the target, where X equals the number of heads you flipped due to the effect plus 1. So regardless, even if you get no head flips, you still get to deal 1 damage, which is helpful. It drops team power. If a ninja's already injured, you know, you can kill him. So it's a pretty straightforward card. I've never gotten much more than like 2 heads on flips, but still, again, that plus 1 makes all the difference, giving me 3 damage I can distribute out to ninjas. And the damage is what you're looking for. You don't really want to play cards that say injure the ninja, because the damage just is 10 times better than that. You want to kill the ninjas on the field to give you that upper hand. So, and you can play it as early as turn 1 because of Hanabi. Good card. Next up, I run 3 of these bad boys, 3 Howls, and I'll tell you why. Howl, I feel, is a card that's hardly ever used, and I'm not really sure why, especially in Earth. So 2 cost is really nothing at all if you really consider the game, and the way this deck builds chakra is pretty quickly, so I'm never too worried about playing multiples of it. But it says target 1 ninja battling against the user, and effect, the target becomes a standby ninja. So you can hit ninjas out of the team, ninjas that are using those like strong jutsus, and because it's a pseudo negation card, you know, most people get pretty frustrated over it just because it just takes the ninja and just takes them out of the team. That's good stuff. It drops their team power if their head ninja is using a crazy strong jutsu that's going to, you know, mess up your team. How is the ultimate, to me, one of the best counters to that. So I run 3. That's just me. I'm sure most people probably only run 2. But I love this card. I feel like it's one of the other MVPs of the deck that just wins games for you. And then last but not least, we have Detonating Clay C4 Karura. Or, yeah, however you want to pronounce that. But anyways, this is one of the only specific jutsus that I actually have in the deck. Its requirements data up with entry cost of 4 or more. And it targets 1 ninja. The effect is remove the target from the game. So it's a sniping jutsu. And sniping jutsus are always good, especially if your opponent decides not to block. You're going to get rid of that ninja, and the additional effect is then injure each other ninja in the target's team. So if they have a big team that they want to keep safe or healthy, and they decide not to block for whatever reason, boom, you hit this card on the field, you're sniping the ninja that's going to probably be the most worrisome for you. Get them out of the game, remove them from the game, they're not coming back. Additionally, injure everybody else. So for only 3 chakra, great card. I wish I had 2 of these. I would have run 2, and then I probably would have considered running 2 of the Dataras in the deck. But until then, I'm just still kind of playtesting it. And yeah, that is my BR variant deck. It's gone through a lot of changes over the many years I've been playing Naruto CCG, and again, I can't take credit for the entire deck build just because I played against that one guy in SAC, and he gave me a lot of ideas, and I appreciate him for that. But that is the build, and you know what? I'll go into my sideboard and into my reinforcements also for you guys, just for funs. But my sideboard's pretty simple. Naruto. This guy says you can't perform into power battle. So it's good against, especially like my brother, he plays a lot of mental, so it's good against him. He's only in here for that aspect. Other than that, probably wouldn't put him on my sideboard too much. Everybody knows this guy, Shino. Silence, your opponent can't search for any cards. Fantastic, because that's like half the game now, is just searching shit out. So definitely run 2 of him. Heart-to-heart communication, permanent. Players cannot search for any cards in their deck or put in play ninja cards except by deploying them. So another strong card that definitely helps negate all those effects that help set your opponents up. Comparative strengths, obviously. Basically changes the effect text to this ninja cannot become the user's cards with one or more specific symbols in the cost. So it helps stop a lot of cards that, like KNS, Search Out Naruto's, Reliance Naruto's, things like that. Additionally, I have Formidable Team in here. This is just for a funsy card. But Formidable Team says, if this user's team has a Shadow Ninja, one ninja opposing the user becomes 0/0 during this turn. If the user's team has a Food Ninja, injure one ninja opposing the user. And if they have a Mind Ninja, one ninja opposing the user becomes a Standby Ninja. So this is a good card if you have all like the Inoshiga trio out. Definitely something you should consider playing. And then I run this in case I want to do more heavy hand control. So Byakugan. Turning up your opponent's backwards face up, and then discarding X cards based off the numbers of symbols on them. So the symbols, as you guys know, are these right here in the right hand corner. So if let's just say, for instance, you hit the Thirsty Kage, you're dropping 3 cards out of their hand, and so that's why I try to run some cards that have that dual symbol aspect, because you never know. If you can hit that early game, it definitely sets you up for the rest of the game, and your opponent dropping their entire hand, it just puts them way back. So that's why I run that. And then reinforcements, I haven't really worked on the reinforcement aspect, but Choji Shikamaru can block multiple teams, will block 2 teams at a time, and he gets a growth coin when he blocks, so you gotta love that. Shikamaru Nara and Awesome Saratobi. This card's fantastic if you're trying to win battle awards and draw cards, and he can't be affected by the effects of opposing ninjas. He's a 7/5/2/4. I realize now that I actually don't run Awesome in the deck, but there is another Choji Shikamaru squad that says you can remove a squad from your reinforcements deck or whatever that has Shikamaru in the name to give him like, I think it's like a +3/+3 and like a +3 mental, or +2/+2 or something like that. I could be wrong, so definitely let me know in the comments below. But so yeah, I run him in there just for that aspect to drop those. Neji Hyuga, Hinata Hyuga, they give you tracking. You can discard your opponent's track ninjas. If he's sent to attack, your opponent has to discard 1 card from their hand. That's always helpful. Again, 4 support, 7 combat, fantastic. And you can flip up, I believe, is 2 your opponent's backwards face up. So that's always good. This other one is at the end of your opponent's turn, if they have 4 more cards in their hand, they must discard until they have 3. So if your opponent's one of those guys that likes to keep a strong, healthy hand, this definitely hurts them, for sure. Naruto Uzumaki, Hinata Hyuga. Again, I realize I don't run Naruto's. This reinforcement deck was just kind of thrown together, so I'm not going to dwell into these at all. And then this bad boy right here. Again, this is a game winner right here. So Deidara CO form, he says, sacrifice Deidara and 3 of your growth coins, and it's a valid attacker mission. So during your mission phase, you can pop 3 earth and place a coin on one of your ninjas. So you can place it on him. You can place it on like the first Hokage, somebody, or like somebody who has good support out. And it says, valid attacker mission, discard this ninja and give 2 damage to every ninja without a clay coin. Then remove a clay coin from the game. So he basically is Damnation from Magic. He's Black Hole from Yu-Gi-Oh! He's a field wipe. Great card. The chances of you actually ever pulling this off is slim to none for me anyways, just because if I'm constantly having to wait to pop CO form, then the game is just taking too long. Yeah. So that's the deck. That's the sideboard. That is the reinforcements, squads, all that good stuff. If you have any comments, any critiques, definitely let me know. I apologize for the shaking camera, just because I don't have a tripod yet, and so I'm trying to get there. But let me know about the deck profile, what you guys think. All criticism is welcome. Be as harsh or as loving as you want. I won't take any of it personally. And if you like what you see here, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to Top Deck Gaming for future content. And everybody have a great day. Big Juan out.